Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Maxon booth here, day one at SIGGRAPH 2024. I'm your host, Matthias, aka Major VFX on all the socials, and I'm accompanied by some of the world's most amazing artists showcasing how they use Maxon 1 in their workflow to create some of the most beautiful, stunning, captivating animation and imagery that you'll see on any screen anywhere. To my left, a longtime community supporter. Is this first time to this main stage?
Yes.
First time to the main stage. Let's give a big round of applause for Jen Van Horn.
Hey, everybody.
See, they're around.
All right. Well, welcome. I just want to say thank you for having me, and I love SIGGRAPH, so I'm glad to be here. I am Jen Van Horn. If you don't know me, I am a senior motion designer and art director. I freelance. I am the creative director, host, and editor of the Monday Meeting Motion podcast. If you don't know Monday Meeting, mondaymeeting.org, please check us out. I am a teaching assistant for School of Motion for Illustration for Motion right now. I am a photo manipulator for Michael Schneider, aka Blacklist. You may know his work with the balloon quotes on walls. It's been all over the internet. I'm the one who recolors all of those balloons. I'm also a mentor for women in animation. So my upcoming circle is going to be about freelancing. For any new freelancers, for any women that are in that group, please check it out. And I'm going to play just my little bit of a hyperreel. I'm mostly known for explainer videos. I've animated over 150, and I lost count a couple years ago, so it's definitely been more than that. So in the last few years, I've been trying something new. I've been working a lot more with social media ads for mobile video game companies. I have done some docu-series with animating my own digital paintings. So I'm going to play that reel for you now. Thank you. All right, and this is going to be the piece that I'm going to be talking about today. On the left side is an animation that I did that was collage. It's time-based. On the right side is how I enhanced it with Red Giant Universe effects. So you can do quite a lot with effects. And this is straight on top of baked animation too, which is exciting. And it loops because that's trendy. All right, so welcome to Timeless Animations using Maxon Red Giant Universe to enhance era-spanning collages. Collage work is kind of near and dear to my heart. I used to be a print collage artist, so now I thought, I love After Effects, why not try to make it move? So that's been my latest thing. So when I was asked to do this presentation, I thought, well, I'm not a 3D artist, but there's Universe, right? And so you don't have to just be a 3D person to enjoy these Maxon products. You can really enhance if you're a VFX artist or a game artist or a filmmaker. And so I knew I wanted to do collage. I just took, everyone knows Ariel Costa, Blink My Brain. He has this amazing workshop on collage, so I just took that, got really inspired. I've also this year been working with vintage print collabs, so I've been making old prints, cutting them up and making them move, so that's been really fun. I'm also a foodie. If you talk to me for 5 minutes, I will direct that conversation to food. It happens every time. I'm so sorry. You will always be hungry around me. I also just launched my cooking channel on YouTube 2 weeks ago called I Make Ugly Pancakes. And so check that out if you are hungry. And so I knew I wanted this presentation to unify all of my passions in one project, which is cool. With personal projects, you don't often give yourself permission to play. And that's what I got to do with this presentation. So Retro Bytes was born after I started figuring out how to combine all three of those things. I knew that I wanted to do something around kitchen appliances. Who here has an air fryer? Yeah, thank you. one of the best appliances that pretty much started between the air fryer and the Instant Pot. But I wanted to know, like, when was that invented, and what other kind of stuff that I use every day, when was that invented, and how can I kind of take you through a journey of all of my favorite appliances. So I did the research. 1920s, pop-up toaster and the KitchenAid mixer. I didn't realize the KitchenAid mixer was invented that early, actually, so that was surprising. The refrigerator and the Tupperware. I still use Tupperware. I still have like that old avocado green Tupperware bowls and the bright yellow colander. Still use it. My mom used to do Tupperware parties. It was like a big part of my life. And then crock pot and fondue set. Yes, I have a fondue set. I make fondue for myself every birthday, basically. So, who doesn't love the 1970s? That's a fantastic era. And then the 2010s was when I was doing food demonstrations for Williams-Sonoma. That's when the spiralizer came out and the air fryer. So air fryers are really popular now, but they were actually pretty popular back in 2010. So a little bit about me is I'm ADHD. I love digging into a research project. Every single personal project I have, I start with the research. I don't just jump into After Effects and start laying keyframes down. I have mood boards. I have full-on articles that I'm reading. I'll also get into how I used AI to consolidate most of this research. I know AI is sort of like the term for this whole really conference. So excited to bring that. I wanted to make sure that sorry, I am having dry mouth. I wanted to make sure that I was paying attention to the graphic styles for each era, because I knew that was going to be a big part of this. I wanted to pay respect to the era, and I wanted to be inspired by the era. So Art Deco and mid-century modern, I'm already inspired by those eras. Like, that's really cool. Collage art is kind of already retro, so you kind of already have that feeling because you're using old newsprint. Oh, thank you. And old photographs, because things that are in the public domain are that old. So a lot of people use them because they're free use. And then Bohemian retro and contemporary minimalism, always fun. I'm more of a 60s, 80s fan, so I was kind of hoping I'd find some appliances in those eras. Didn't happen, so I'll have to pick another project to go into that. And then I broke it down by the themes, the shapes, the key features. I went into Pinterest and Google Images and researched basically collage art from each era, and they were all very similar, which made me happy because cohesion is a big part of my projects as well. So how do you make something from different eras cohesive? I was able to do that. Then I started collecting the assets. I love Photoshop. I can mask all day, every day. So grabbing the photos, I started masking right away, even though I didn't collect everything at the same time. I knew I wanted to have some sort of human element in the ads, because, I mean, that's big, right? You connect to an ad if there's a person in it because you see yourself in that person. So I knew they were out there. I knew that they had blueprints for all of these things, just to really fill out the piece, because collage art is layers on top of layers on top of layers. So I can't just have a photo of an air fryer. I need to have a lot of elements. And then I went into color palettes, and they all had very similar colors. I am a huge fan of jewel tones, which is trendy now. Apparently it was trendy back then. It does look a little bright, and the reason was I knew I was going to degrade some of this, so everything was going to get kind of faded and muddy, so it needed to be super bright and bold to begin with. And then I went into the font options. I wasn't happy that 1920s was super thin when everything else was nice and chunky, so I had to kind of deal with it. But it's still a really fun font. And now I did the cohesion. When you look at timeline-based projects, usually there's a timeline at the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen. I wanted to do the middle because I wanted to pick 2 appliances for each era. So how do I do this? I didn't want to make it like one line. It's so boring seeing the like super graphic style. So I added sort of like a subtle wave in the background behind those dates, and everything's going to like slide off and then come in really nice. I'm really excited to show you how I did it. When I played that video, I don't know if y'all are fans of like Warner Brother cartoons, but Wile E. Coyote like steps off a cliff, but his head kind of still there to have an expression. So I wanted that with a text, so I wanted it to like kind of stretch like that. So a lot of details like that I think of, because I like to be extremely intentional when I do these things. And yeah, maybe I'm the only one that notices it, or maybe my friends who are motion designers are the only ones that notice it, but it makes me happy. So creating the cohesion, I wanted the color palette to be the same. I wanted the backgrounds to be the same. The only thing that was changing really were the fonts on the dates and the actual appliances themselves and a little bit of those details. So defining elements like the graphics, I really love geometric graphics. There are some circles in there as well, but I wanted everything to have a similar feel, similar motion. So from there, I started breaking down the animation. If you're not timing your animation before you animate, like you're going to animate yourself into a corner. I've seen it so many times. I'm a teaching assistant. I used to teach for After Effects Kickstart. Student will just pool their blood, sweat, and tears into the first scene and then totally run out of time for the rest of it. So it's just very imbalanced. There's no plan, really easy trap to get into. So I knew that every single era needed to have its own set amount of time. I knew the intro card needed at least another second, because you need time to kind of process that style and the quickness of it. And also there's a lot more text on that intro card, so adding more time to read it and process it is really important. And then I needed a 1 second loop at the end. So 22 seconds total, not bad for a personal project, still pretty lengthy. And then I wanted to make sure that the text animation, I put a lot of work into that. Like I said, with the stretchiness, I had so much fun playing with it. And then I wanted to set motion guides for myself, because when you're doing a personal project, it's very easy to just get pulled into a million directions. You're inspired by everything. It just goes off the rails very quickly. So I wanted to always keep it moving. Love expression. So a wiggle expression on a time remap or on a scale or rotation, and then adding a posterized time on top of it. It's going to give you that sort of stop motion-y feel, which is really great for collage. All right, hold on to this. Also, the text, like I said, needed to stay on screen enough where you can read and process what you're reading. So usually giving that like a little bit of extra time. So I purposely will read something out loud very slow. So if you're animating text, that's probably the best trick I have for that. And then I wanted everything super easy, nice and flowy, everything kind of overlapping, so it wasn't just a stop and go. I don't know how many animations I've seen where there's a full dead stop in the middle, and it feels like, did it freeze? Like, was it a glitch? So never get into that. And then I wanted a lot of that texture in the background to have a subtle enough movement, but enough to feel like it had kind of a higher energy. So I went into ChatGPT for this project. The amount of research I would have done for this would have taken me days. But if I asked ChatGPT to kind of consolidate all of the research out there and break down the elements that I needed, aka the design styles, those themes from each era, what makes them different and what makes them the same, so I could figure out what I was going to make different and what I was going to do to add cohesion, that helped me so much. Literally 5 seconds. Like, it popped right up, gave me a whole list. I'm like, wow, that saved me a day. Fantastic. And on a whim, I did not think it was going to actually do this, but it did. It scanned the Maxon website, all of the effects, and I said, based off that research, what do you suggest I do? And it gave me a list of all the effects that I could try. Not all of them were great, but or applied, but I was able to have a really good list of stuff to play with immediately. So I didn't have to like go in and get overwhelmed by all of the effects. I had like 5 per era to play with and see what worked for me. And then I did the same thing with the cohesion. What kind of effects do you suggest, you know, to create this sort of like red thread throughout the thing? And it did that too. And at the end, I also had it figure out the title. Well, I figured out the title. ChatGPT can give you a list of 20, and then you can pick out the words and kind of puzzle piece it. That's why I love ChatGPT, is the puzzle pieces. I just want to, you know, shrink everything down so then I can play within that realm. Otherwise, I'm just overwhelmed all the time. So definitely helpful in this case. So then I started figuring out the effects. So the cream colored effects are the ones that ChatGPT suggested and I used. So 2 in the cohesive effects list, and then retrograde and finisher on the defining effects. The ones that are blue and crossed out are the ones it suggested that I did not use. Some of them I used in different ways, and they were close. Like VHS for the 70s, it looked okay, but I was talking to Michael, my Maxon spirit guide, and he told me like maybe VHS is a little more 80s. Why don't you try the chromatic aberration instead? So that's really great too. If you're using Maxon products, you can reach out to the trainers. They love it. They want to help you. They have suggestions. So this was a great starting point, but then I ended up using my trainer to actually figure this out. And then the gold ones were ones that either Michael suggested or I found on my own. Misfire is one of the greatest effects I think I've ever. It feels like 500 effects in one. Like I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Sketchify is another really great one. I don't know if you ever went to a craft store with your mom and found those old sewing patterns. They have that really nice illustrative style. Sketchify gives you that. It's fantastic on like photographs. It's amazing. Chromatic aberration, it separates the red, green, and blue. It gives this really trippy, wavy kind of fun thing to it. And glitch was great. I was using hologram, but it was feeling way too futuristic. Like I said, you want to be really intentional. You want to be respectful of these eras. So really thinking about each effect, not just layering them up, is a smart way to go. So now it's time to dive into After Effects. I do want to say, too, when I first started this journey, I played around with Maxon a little bit, but I wasn't like a full-on user. I feel like I am a full-on user now after doing this presentation, which is really exciting for me because it really does do a really great job. There's so many effects that you can layer and combine to make these really great pieces. So let's jump in to my file. What I did basically is I wanted to make sure that I was doing the effects on top of a baked animation because I'm loading these animations up with all kinds of wiggle expressions. I'm really kind of making After Effects a little grumpy with the more I keep layering on. So I really like to bake layers that I know are going to sort of live on their own and they're not going to need a lot of digging. So starting with this. Come on, mouse. There we go. Let me go down. Also, all of my After Effects projects, color-coded and labeled. If you're not color-coding and labeling your projects, what are you doing? So starting with the background. Hold on. Oh yeah, these were the lines. So let me actually go back to this. Do I have... I think I have the background somewhere. Love Live, this is great. Well, we'll go to the background. Oh wait, no, I have it here. Build. Background. So I started with the background first. I have these really fun paper textures with some halftone. Like I said, the wiggle expression, the posterized time. And they're all, let's see, not that one. They're all like stepped. There we go. I have stepped textures with a wiggle expression on the time remapping. So it's going to jump back and forth to all of these layers, which is a really easy way to add motion in a very quick way. So I had that. I wanted to bring in some of these images I found on the Smithsonian website, which is also free use for a lot of their images if you're ever sourcing. And I baked the background. Then I brought it in to this pre-comp, and I wanted to make sure, oh, see, that's another thing. Okay, normally I have all of my fonts downloaded. For some reason, this 8-bit bytes, because this one, it didn't download, so that's missing. But this retro font was really fun. The problem is when you bring in a font that is scaled really weird like that, it will rescale everything. So when you bring in like a Photoshop file and you say like convert to editable text, it screwed up the whole thing. So what I did is I brought it in just as the PS file, and then I just added masks and then scaled up the masks from there because I really wanted this like lava lamp kind of emotion. So I'm really excited how that turned out. And I wanted to use some of the same photos. I wanted some of these like geometric shapes in the background that I was going to use throughout for the cohesion. And like I said, like this is pretty bright. When you do the side by side and you go even to that main first file here, it's a lot more muddy, right? Because I'm adding a bunch of stuff. But the thing is it's adding this great texture too to the dark bits of like the fonts. And I was really happy with that. But going back to here, I had to figure out what I was going to do with these frames. And then once I figured out the first frame, I had to copy it with the color coding and the labeling for the rest of them. How I did it is after I figured out this first frame, I just duplicated it and then just reloaded the footage with the different stuff. Fastest way to do it so you don't have to set it up every time. Anything that you can do that's going to be smarter, faster, stronger to save you time, I'm a big fan of. So each of these have a little bit of different motion. Everything slides in. This is what I mean with the stretching. It's also skewing that font there. And then I love things with frames because I like playing with depth. So these lines back here are on top of that frame, and then these little text backgrounds are popping out, but everything else, when it goes off, goes behind the frame. So it's coming in on top, but going underneath, like tucking under. So I have everything kind of slide on, but then certain things are popping on, and then the blueprints are fading on. But it still feels real smooth, and there's enough of a variation going on with these. And then like you could see, I have the scaling with some wiggle, so it's popping on and off, but it's not too distracting. You have enough time to read and process the text. You have enough time to kind of process those images as well. And then I just slid everything off. And then I love text animation, so I love that wave up. I use that a lot, actually, probably too much. Definitely one of my favorites. So I did that with the rest of these. And then after that, I rendered the whole thing, and then it was time to add the effects, which I did straight on the video. So I have this main one that has, where's my effects window? What? I think that would be, wait, no. Hang tight. There we go, effects controls. So this is when I got into Universe. So overall, I have this texturize, which is really great. Let me turn that off so you can see it. So that's giving us that really great texture over top. Look at that. Look, that really, really changes the color there. So I'm glad I went super bright and bold with that. And then Colorista was another one because it used to be a lot brighter and neon. So that added a little bit more degradation. And then this is Misfire. Misfire is so much fun because look how many things you have. Scratches and displacement and funk. There's an effect called funk, which is really crazy. I'll show you what it does. It like adds these like splotchy, like these white kind of pieces kind of show up. And the opposite of funk is splotches. So if I turn on splotches, it does these black shapes, which will come up. Come on. There we go. So it does these really cool, nasty like stuff on top of it. So I had fun playing with these. I didn't end up using splotches or funk, but I just love the names of it. So I want to find a reason to use it later. Love the saturation, I have the fading, and then the dust and scratches. So when I play through here, you can see sort of like those green lines that are coming in. So really nice kind of degraded footage there. There's so many ways you can like layer these up. But it's nice that there's just really one effect, Misfire, that you can play and make all kinds of different combinations. So next I want to do 1920s. obviously I needed to have something that had an old camera feel to it. So that's when I started using retrograde. And you can set the camera. So I have an 8mm, but you could do like a 6mm documentary style, which changes the color a little bit. I have some color changes on here too. Actually, if I take off that, and I do like home video has a little bit. I liked the black and white because it just, I don't know, it just gave us that really nice old-timey feel. Oh, right, I changed the color. So if I bring that down to 0, it really fades that out. And then you can play with the grime. There's a lot of like dust. Ew, there's hair. I didn't even see that before. So you can have all kinds of fun with that. Then it's time for the 1940s. This is where I found Sketchify. So you can kind of see, let me bring this woman here. Like, she looks more illustrated, right? It looks kind of like those old, illustrated sewing patterns. So I had a lot of fun. You could play with the ink intensity, make it like really, really sketchy. And then just playing with the strength too. Like if we knock that down to 50, that looks even more illustrated. And then with the smoothing and the radius, like, yeah, you can, let's see what happens there. Come on. And then colorize. Oh yeah, and the strength, obviously. Like you can go real extreme with it. So I had a lot of fun with that one. 70s was my favorite though, because it had the chromatic aberration. I'll show you what that does. So that would be this crazy way, like it makes you feel like you're on drugs. So you could do a lot of really fun stuff with this. I didn't push it too far, but that's enough to make you feel like, okay, I have vertigo. But if I wanted to go even more extreme with it, let's see, what should I do? See, you feel like a candy store kid. Like there's so many things that you can play. The distortion with like the red, it also will like offset a lot of this too. Look at this. Like you can make people sick. Like you can have so much fun with this. I could definitely see playing with like a 60s era with this as well. Maybe not so neon. That'd probably be a little bit more like your oranges and your browns is more 60s, but you really play. And then you can play with the lens texture as well. Let's see. So if I did, oh no, I upset After Effects. Oh, what are we gonna get? Okay, maybe I shouldn't piss it off too much. It's so fun though, right? I didn't even notice what it did. Well, we can go to the next era. So for the glitch, I mean, you can have it be really glitchy like the whole time. I didn't want that for this. I wanted it just to kind of glitch a couple of times because I wanted you to be able to read, what was on the screen. So I just kind of played with the opacity, and at least it had this background with the misfire and the colorista and the texturize. I still had that in the background, so I only use this very sparingly. Like that's because it can get really extreme with the glitch. So let's play with that. Compression. Yeah, that's glitchy. Glitch frequency. I guess I could play with the frequency, but I wanted to control it. So sometimes I do that. I'll play with the opacity and just bring up stuff and have it kind of fade out instead of really playing with like time remapping or adding more expressions, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just so much fun. And then I had everything loop out. And that's basically my project. I can play with a lot more of these. Let's go into the actual thing here. Let's get a clean. Where's my play? So actually, let's do this. Oh, where's my project? We'll do V2. All right, so if I wanted to go completely, let me try to, reset. There we go. So we reset this to 1. And we turn off texture. That's actually not too... That's your default misfire. So let's say we want to really amp this up. I want to apply softness. You have all these drop-down menus to play with it. If I wanted to go real... That's too blurry. We want to make sure to read this. Let's go back. Let's pull that off. Saturation. You can really blow it up to 200 if you want to make this real crazy. Let's apply some funk. Why not? All right. Yeah. I don't like the splotches. They're too dark. Let's go with color grain. Ooh, you could change the color of the grain, which is great. I love teal. Let's do that. Grain amount. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Red softness. I love this. If anyone wants to call out what I should add next, what do you think? You like deep scratches? A little bit of deep scratch? Okay, let's do that. All right, so apply deep scratches. Ooh, I like the green too. So we'll add 8. Why not? Ooh, a lot of lines. And then play through it. Come on. There we go. Yeah. That is so cool. I hope you're inspired to like go home and play with this because it's kind of unlimited what you can do. Now let's apply a gate weave. Oop, come back. So we could play. This kind of like offsets it as well. Frequency. So this kind of makes it jump around. So gives you a really uneasy feeling. Because you can use effects to create tension when you need to as well. Like it's a really easy way to do it without having to think about it when you're filming something in camera. It's really great ways to add little touches, especially if you're being very intentional with a specific moment in a piece of footage. And same with your motion. Say you're working with someone else's motion project and you want to just like boost it up. This is a way to do it. It's like, yeah, add drugs on top of it. let's make it crazy. Let's add some grain. Let's change the camera. It's just kind of the world is your oyster. So we definitely maybe didn't pay the most respect to some of those areas with some of the added stuff I just added, but you could see how wonderful kind of this is. And like I said, everyone on this team is like really open to helping. It's kind of a wonderful place to be a part of. So, I mean, that's my presentation. Does anybody have any questions or want me to play deeper with some of these? Any effects that I'm not using that you suggest to play with? Email me. If you're on the live stream, email me. You can also find me at the demo station after this too. I have my project. You can add as many effects on things as you want without hopefully crashing After Effects. We can really push it to its limit. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's give Jen a big round of applause.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have time for questions since this is our last presentation of the day. Sorry, Internet, but we will be back tomorrow bright and early, 10:30 Mountain Standard Time. That's right. That's
yes.
Mountain Standard.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, this is Mountain Standard. So Mountain Standard Time, we'll be back with our next presenter starting off the day. But do we have any questions from our live in-person audience?
What are you saying?
Kendall.
Oh, that was
to see something with hair.
Oh, yeah. Let's go back.
The hair piece.
I believe it was. I don't think it was Colorista. Sketch of. Oh no, maybe it was Misfire.
I do love all the vintage things, though.
It's fun, right?
Great job.
Thank you. I don't think it was Misfire. It was what
retrograde.
Was it? It was retrograde. Okay, so it was 20s. All right. So it's the grime. Yeah, hair count. All right, let's see what this does. Ew. You could scale the hair.
Oh, there we go.
That's nasty.
That is perfect for microscope.
That is nasty.
Yeah, microscope work.
There you go.
Great way to close the show day one, Jen. Great job.
Thank you, I try.
Great job. Thank you, audience, for your participation. Thank you, everyone. Please tune in to the Maxon stream tomorrow, 10:30. MT, yeah, so I'm going to be reminded yet again. Mountain Standard Time. We'll see you then. Thanks again.
Woo!